everyone, welcome to this year's day camp training. I am excited to be here even though it's virtual. It is a really fun day. Sorry we can't be in person. Anyone who knows me knows that day camp training is like my Christmas, so it's kind of disappointing that it's virtual, but hopefully you get something out of it. My name is Hayley Rayl. I'm the executive director of the Firestone Park YMCA in Akron. I've been with the YMCA for 13 years, and for all 13 years I've been very involved with day camp. So I started as a day camp counselor as well as before and after school counselor, preschool teacher. I did that all through college. And then I went to the Riverfront YMCA in Cuyahoga Falls to be their youth enrichment director. So overseeing all their childcare programs, including day camp. Did that for about 6 years. And for the past 3 years, I've been at Firestone Park as the executive director, where we have a pretty sizable day camp program. So for 13 years, I've been involved in day camp. It's got a very big place in my heart. And so welcome to the team. I hope you have a wonderful summer. Today, we are going to be talking about behavior management. And the goal of the training today is to give you tools to help prevent behaviors in your classroom and with your kids. There's a lot that you can do as a counselor to prevent these negative behaviors from happening in the first place. And no, you can't prevent all of them. I'm not suggesting that. Even the best of us have difficult behaviors that we have to handle. But I'm going to give you tools today, especially to help you prevent as many of those behaviors as possible. So we're going to go through different sections and enjoy. Hopefully, even if you get one nugget out of this, I'll call it a success. All right, so what can you do as a counselor to prevent negative behaviors? First and foremost, you need to actively supervise. And if you've been around the Y any length of time, you've probably heard those words a lot. So actively supervising means that you are moving around with the kids, you are watching them, you are aware of what's going on around you. You're not on your phone. You're not in the corner talking to your co-counselor. You are in the room. You are engaged with the kids. So there's this fine balancing act of being engaged with the kids and actively supervising them. So there's such a thing as playing a game with the kids, but also scanning the room. So yes, you can be engaged with the kids and actively supervise. If there's more than one counselor in the room, most of the time you should be spread out. Yes, there's such a thing as, hey, we got to get together, we got to regroup, we got to make a plan for where we're going next and what's happening next, but that shouldn't take that long. You should be actively supervising, actively spread out among your group. That way you have eyes on as many kids and in as many areas as possible. Also, when you are actively supervising and walking around, the kids are a lot less likely to try to get away with things. So if they know that I'm going to be walking around every 5 minutes or so and checking in on them, they're less likely to have conversations about things that they shouldn't have conversations about. But if they know that, Miss So-and-so sits at the table the whole time, she ain't going to get up and check on me, they can talk and do whatever they want. So actively supervising is a key, a very big key for behavior management. They're definitely related. Kind of along with that, and I already hit on a little bit, but engaging with the kids. So actually playing with them. When you are involved with the kids, they're less likely to, again, do things that they shouldn't because they know that you're there, they know that you're watching. And this is a job truly that whatever you put into it, you will get out. So the more you interact, the more you engage, the more you get to know these kids, the better your job will be, the better your day will be, the better your relationships will be. It does take work, but it is worth it. Another thing that you can do to prevent negative behaviors is to keep the campers busy. So there should not be a whole lot of free time. They should have planned activities. You should be engaging with them. They should have things to do that are structured and that will keep them busy. And when they are busy, they have less time to act out. Establishing and practicing routines is another way to prevent behaviors. Establishing and practicing routines is a way to set them up for success. So an example of this is, what does your hand washing and bathroom procedure look like? Is it a hot mess where the kids run in and splash water everywhere and throw paper towels and then they don't know where to go when they're done? No. Establish a routine where, one kid goes in at a time, You wash your hand, you go to the bathroom, wash your hands, come back, line up in this spot. Just establishing those routines, such as bathroom hand washing, arrival. Where do they put their stuff when they get in? Where do they go when they arrive? Snack time. Where do they go when they're done washing hands and into the classroom? What does snack time look like? So those things that you do every day, establishing set routines so that it looks the same every day for all the kids is huge when it comes to behavior management, because if they know what to do and they do it, they're less likely to get in trouble or do things and act out. That takes time to model, that takes time to establish. I was always a fan of building that into the first week of camp, of just practicing routines. Hey, we're going to practice what it should look like when we walk down the hall and onto the bus, or this is what it should look like when we're done with snack and cleaning up, and just modeling that, talking about the behaviors that you want to see, modeling that, practicing that, and then keeping it consistent every day. That's another way to prevent negative behaviors. And along with that is just setting the kids up for success. So going over the rules and expectations that you have, that way they know what you expect of them, they know what behaviors they're supposed to have and not have, and you can fall back on those. I know a common thing that we would do is kind of have camp rules and the kids make those up and you write them on a poster board and everyone signs them. And when you do that, I think that's a great idea. But when you do that, keep it to maybe 5 basic rules, 5 rules that kind of cover everything. If you have more than 5, they're not going to remember more than 5. Keep it to, I would say, 4 to 5 basic rules that cover a lot of ground, and really fall back on those when it comes time to talk about behaviors. So those are some things that you can do to prevent negative behaviors. It takes work and it takes consistency, but if you put effort into those things, it will help manage those behaviors. Another thing to consider is your environment as well as the relationships that you build. So really focusing on a positive environment and a positive relationship with your campers. So first, the environment. Model and encourage kindness and respect. So as counselors, you should be modeling the behaviors that you want to see in your campers and having that environment, that culture of positivity, kindness, respect. So when you overhear someone saying something nice or kind to someone else, wow, hone in on that. Say, wow, I heard you, Riley, talk to Joey about his painting and how wonderful it was. That is such a kind thing for you to say. That probably made him feel really good. That's great. And the more you say things like that in front of the whole group, or even just a couple of kids overhearing, that's powerful. You enforcing that positivity and kindness in that environment is huge. And that will go a long way when it comes to building a positive culture and therefore helping prevent some of these negative behaviors. Praising and reinforcing positive behavior. So if you see someone doing something good, like following the rules, maybe you're trying to get the whole group kind of quiet for snack time or quiet for the next transition. Find kids in the audience or in your classroom who are doing the right thing, who are eyes up on you, ready to listen. Point them out, congratulate them. I guarantee you at least a few more kids will follow suit every time. And then recognizing individual kids is a good way to build that positive environment. So as a camp counselor, one of the things I did was we had the core value beads. So every core value of the Y had a different color. And when one of my campers exhibited core value that day, they came up, I told the group what they did that exhibited that core value, and they got to put that color bead on our lanyard, and that lanyard went everywhere with us on my book bag, actually. So they got to see the lanyard grow. Once they got a certain number of beads, we had a reward as a group. But more importantly than the reward, that child got recognition for doing something positive. So finding something that works for your group and your camp is key. And then positive relationships. So getting to know the kids is huge. One of the things that stood out to me from early on in my career as a camp person was the amount that you talk to a child or the kids. No more than 50%, so no more than half should be directions or instructions. At least half or more should be just conversations, getting to know them, talking about things that aren't you telling them what to do or about the activity that you're going to play. It's just getting to know them. Another rule of thumb that I had as a camp counselor was talking individually to every camper at least once a day. And that takes effort, that takes you really trying to make your way around, but hey, if you're actively supervising and if you're actively walking around and hitting on these different groups and these kids, then you can do it. But that helps build the relationships between you and the kids. It shows that you care, it shows that you like them, love them even, and that's important for their self-esteem, and it just, when they feel connected to you, they will respect you more and therefore help prevent some of those negative behaviors. Having meaningful conversations with them too is key. So not just, like I said, not just giving them directions, being the authority, which you are the authority, you are the counselor, you are the authority, but also being friendly, not necessarily a friend, but friendly, being someone that they can talk to, someone that they can trust, and someone that they can have fun with. That's key. Another thing to think about when it comes to building that culture of positive relationships and the environment is thinking about, as you as a counselor, what you're looking for when you are supervising and engage with the group. If you look for negative behavior, you're gonna find it. If you look for positive behavior, you're gonna find that too. And sometimes when you're so focused on the negative behavior, it makes it hard to see the positive. So we all know that you could have a wonderful group of kiddos and still a couple of them are pushing your buttons or doing things they shouldn't. And it's really easy to focus on that. It's really easy to point that out and address that and only focus on that. When really, there's so many other kids doing so many other positive things. So keep that framework in mind of what are you looking for. If you look for negative things, you're gonna find negative things. And it will keep you from seeing all the positive things going on. Focus on the positive and recognize it like we talked about. I'm not suggesting that you ignore all the negative things, but there is a time and place to choose your battles, ignore what you can ignore negativity-wise, and focus on the positives, and hopefully those positives will correct those negatives. So really just changing your mindset of focusing on those positives, looking for those positives, and also along these same lines, thinking about that one kiddo who maybe, every day they run down that hallway. Every day you have to tell them, please walk, don't run, please walk. Every day they run down that hallway. And so when they come up the stairs and they start, your first instinct might be, hey, don't even think about running, I'm watching you. Versus what if your mindset was, let me see what they do. Maybe they didn't even take a step yet and you're already assuming that they're gonna run because they ran every day this week. But maybe this is the day that they walk, and that's the time that you say, wow, I love the way you walk down the hall. I know you're really excited every day when you get here to get to the classroom, but you decided to walk. That was a good choice. So don't make assumptions about the kids who do have negative behaviors. They might not always. So help set them up for success and praise them when they have positive behaviors. All right, next we are going to talk about communication and how you communicate with your campers. First, we'll focus on verbal, and then we'll go to nonverbal. So first, with verbal, like we've talked about already, recognizing and encouraging those positive behaviors. So using your words in a powerful way to talk about and recognize positive behaviors. And then here's a few specific things. Using the children's names. So greeting every child by name when they arrive, when they leave, and everywhere in between. Using names is so powerful. It helps with that positive culture within your group. It helps your relationship with that child, and it makes them feel important, special, helps you remember their name too, the more you have to say it. So using their names is key. Also using manners. So I think sometimes teachers, camp counselors can feel like they are the authoritative one in the group, which again, I've said it before, you are the authority, but it almost gives you a sense of, you're talking down to the kids when we shouldn't. They are people too. And I think a good rule of thumb to remember, and I'll probably hit on this later, is that talk to the kids as in a manner in which you would talk to another adult. So being courteous, being kind, using manners, being respectful. So if someone interrupts you but you're having a conversation with a child, handle that the same way you would handle that with an adult. Same with using manners. Using please and thank you. That's huge. So really making sure that we're treating the kids with respect and talking to them in a respectful way. That includes using manners. Using clear and concise language, and direct language. So when you're giving instructions or you're talking to the group, making sure that you're being clear in a way that the kids can understand you, not just being articulate, but also in the words that you choose. So making sure that you're not just talking to talk, and making sure that whatever you want to happen, whatever behaviors or what you're trying to communicate to the group, that it's made clear so that the children understand and then therefore can listen to you. Because a lot of times kids don't necessarily mean to disobey or mean to not follow directions. They might just not have understood you. So being careful with how you give directions and making sure that everyone understands, and maybe it does take you explaining it in a different way, but being aware of the actual words you're using and the way you're delivering them is huge. Using positive words rather than negative words. So if you see a behavior that you don't want to see, give them a positive alternative of what to do. So the running example, instead of saying don't run, you can say please make sure to walk, or please use walking feet. And if you hear someone saying something mean or negative to another child, you can say, instead of saying don't say that, don't be mean, you can say let's really try to use kind words. So just flipping the words that you use, flipping the language that you're using to always flip it to the positive, okay? And then something else with the verbal is watching your tone. So I've done 13 years of day camp. I know you can get frustrated. I get frustrated. So you really have to watch your tone and how you speak. I always think about it like this, if I am in a classroom and I'm talking to the kids and a parent is right outside the door, would I want that parent to hear how I'm talking right now? Just kind of that thought in the back of my head, I would want every parent to feel like I'm showing respect to their children, speaking to them with respect. So just kind of having that picture in your head of, hey, would that child's parent be okay with the way I'm talking to them right now? I get it. It can be frustrating, but you gotta just take a minute, breathe for a second, and watch your tone, watch how you're talking to these kids. And it goes back to that point I said earlier about, treating the kids like you would treat another adult in the way that you're talking to them. So making sure that you're using a respectful tone. And just because you're the adult and the kid does not give you the excuse to yell at them or be disrespectful. Okay? And if you show them respect, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll show you respect, but a line that I like to use with the kids is, I'm showing respect to you, I'm being kind to you, please show me that same respect. Or even saying like, I don't feel like I'm disrespecting you, but I feel like you're disrespecting me. Is everything okay? Is something wrong? So keeping an eye on your tone. Then the nonverbal things. Smiling with the kids is huge. Show that you're happy to see them. And I know it's the world of masks right now, but you can still tell if someone's smiling behind that mask. So making sure that you are smiling, and it just shows that you're happy to see them. Having frequent eye contact is key too. So especially in the world of masks right now, eyes are everything. That's how we communicate. So making sure that you're making eye contact when you're talking to the kids. And also getting down on their level. So no one wants to be talked down to, like literally talked down to. So this is more applicable with those younger kids. Really, if you need to, stoop down and look at them eye to eye. If they're sitting in a chair, get down if you can. Just those nonverbal ways of communicating, it sets the tone, and you got to be aware of those things too, verbal and nonverbal. There's a lot of power in that communication. So I encourage you this summer, be aware of that. It is a skill. If you are new to camp, these things might not come super easy right away. You'll build up to it, just practice. Okay, so there's a few things I wanted to talk about when it comes to role modeling behaviors that you want to see with your group. I kind of hit on this earlier, but modeling the behaviors that you want to see. So modeling those routines, modeling what it looks like to go wash your hands, modeling what it looks like to clean up. Having those routines will help with behavior management. The other thing that you need to model is how to resolve conflicts within your group. So teaching the kids how to manage conflicts between each other. So yes, the kids can talk it out between themselves, but it really, especially younger ones, it really does help for that adult to be there to kind of coach them through what that conflict management can look like. So obviously we don't allow physical aggression. We don't want the kids to hit each other or touch each other in any way. So we need to give them tools that they can use to manage their own conflicts, because there will be conflicts. No matter how wonderful your group is and positive culture and all, there still will be some conflict. I mean, they're kids, right? They're going to be with each other all day, every day. So giving them the tools to manage their own conflicts. That would include, if they're having a disagreement, they're mad at each other about something, hearing Joey's side of the story, letting him speak, modeling for the other child, all right, it's Joey's turn. We're going to let him talk right now. I want to hear what he has to say, and then we're going to let you talk. And hearing both of their sides, letting them have a conversation, and then you being the mediator and letting them talk it out with your guidance, and then the more you do that, the more practice you have they have the practice doing that, the more capable they're going to be of then resolving their own conflicts in the future. So giving them those proper tools of, oh, hey Joey, if you were mad about that, I bet if you just let Susie know that you were mad or that you didn't want her to do that, then she wouldn't do it, but she didn't know. So how about next time? And then give them a next time. Give them a suggestion for how to handle it the next time. And that would be that would go also for their behavior. So if a child is having a negative behavior, it shouldn't be just, hey, go sit in timeout. I'll let you know when you can get up. No, it's, hey, let's go sit over there. Let's talk about this, and talk them through their behavior, why they shouldn't have that behavior, and what can happen next time. What should they do next time? So a common one is, if I've got a little one who, say a first grader who, every time someone makes him mad, he reaches out to smack them or push them. We're really trying to work with him on finding alternative ways to handle that anger or handle that situation where it doesn't involve touching someone. So we talked about him using his words. What can he say when someone's bothering him? If that doesn't work, he comes and tells me or another teacher, and then we work it out. But really giving them the tools that they need to make better choices. So it shouldn't just be, you're in timeout, I'll let you know when you get up, you can get up, and that's the end of it. They don't learn squat from that. Have that conversation, help build them up to make them successful for next time. And it does take work, and I know your day is busy, I know you have a lot going on, but making the effort and having the time to have these conversations will help prevent things in the future. You just have to put in that early effort first. Modeling those behaviors, setting them up, really giving them the tools so that they can be more self-sufficient in this conflict management or their negative behaviors that you don't want to see. And again, it might go back, they might have a negative behavior because maybe they don't know the rule or understand the expectation. Reminding them of the expectation, and then setting them up for success by giving them the tools that they need, or the directions that they need, or the alternative options that they need. So this goes to redirection. So instead of having this action, redirect them to make another choice, a positive choice. All right, so to wrap up this training, I'm going to go over a few rules of thumb when it comes to behavior management. These are very random, so no rhyme or reason to these. I did not put them in a particular order. So they might seem random, but I think they're all really good tidbits. Number one, redirection. So we kind of hit on this already. A lot of this has been a common theme, but redirection. Not just telling them the behavior that they should stop, but redirecting them to a different behavior, a positive one. So if they are fooling around over on the rug with the trucks, maybe, hey, instead of doing that, come over here, I need help getting ready for snack. Or, hey, can you go over and play with so-and-so, he needs help finishing the puzzle. Giving them an alternative choice that is positive and a better behavior. So it doesn't necessarily have to, their negative behavior doesn't necessarily have to result in punishment. It can result in him doing something different. So the first step with behavior management should always be that redirection. Having them do a different behavior that is positive rather than the negative one that they're choosing. Number 2, there should never be group punishments. Over the course of my time at the Y, that is one of the common parent complaints that I've heard over my time is they do not want their child to be punished for behaviors of other children and the whole group. And there's a fine line, there's a difference between, all right, we gotta all sit down, gather ourselves, take a breather, take a break, regroup as a whole group, versus you're in trouble, you're in timeout, sit here quietly with your heads down. It's 2 different things, and it's all about how you frame it with the kids. So if you frame it as, hey, you know what, we got kind of wild in the gym, we need to go back to our tables, let's take a minute, let's breathe, and let's talk about this. Talk about what we need to change for next time, versus, you guys were terrible in the gym, go sit down, I'll tell you when you can get up. 2 different things, because they're relaying this to their parent, and then we get the phone call of, so-and-so my kid had to sit in timeout for something some other kid did. That's not fair. And it's not fair. So sometimes, yeah, certain kids need to have a timeout or sit out, but what's to stop you from giving the whole group, or giving the kids who were behaving and doing the right thing, a positive reward or positive recognition? So it goes back to that positive recognition, really trying to focus on those positive behaviors of those kids who, because guaranteed, at least some of the kids were doing the right thing. Try to recognize them, and do not do group punishments where that includes everybody. Again, fine line between a group chat, regrouping, versus group punishment. It's all in how you frame it, but no group punishments. Another thing involves timeouts. So there's a rule of thumb when it comes to giving a child a timeout. You can't go over the number of minutes that they are years old. So a 6-year-old should not be in a timeout for more than 6 minutes. A 9-year-old should not be in timeout for more than 9 minutes. That's not to say that a child who's 9 has to have a 9-minute timeout. They can have a 3-minute timeout or a 1-minute timeout, but they cannot have more than 9 minutes. So it's just the number of minutes they are age in years. That helps with preventing you having a timeout for way too long. A 6-year-old should not be in timeout for 20 minutes. That's not appropriate. Another thing with behavior management is to don't say something that you can't follow through with. So don't give, this goes with this one too, don't give a consequence for something you can't follow through with. Don't say, if you make a mess at your table and don't clean it up, you're not going to be able to swim tomorrow. That's not a realistic consequence. So don't say things that you can't actually follow through on, for a couple reasons. One, the consequence thing, don't give an unrealistic consequence. It's not fair. But also, if you can't follow through on it, you just showed that child that your word doesn't actually mean anything. Like you could say things that you won't follow through on. So the next time you say, if you do this, I am going to do this, why would they believe you if you didn't follow through on it last time? That goes for consequences as well as, positive things. So don't tell them that you're going to bring in a treat tomorrow if you're not. That kind of loses the trust. The more you can follow up on your word and be true to your word, the more trust you're going to build. You really do lose some power when you give a consequence or a threat of a consequence that you don't actually follow through on. You'll lose your power. They don't take you as seriously. So just be mindful and careful when you choose your words for consequences. One of my favorite lines that came from a different director years ago was, in the moment you might not know what consequence you're going to give or what you can give, but you can say, if you do this, there will be a consequence. So that lets them know that, hey, something's going to happen. And that gives you kind of the out of, I don't know what's going to happen yet, but something will. There will be a consequence, and that gives you time to make an appropriate one. So you can always say that if you do this again, there will be a consequence. Again, that's a way to tell them that they'll have a consequence without actually knowing what it is yet. You'd rather do that than say something that you actually can't do. And then last, and probably most importantly, hit on it before, but just making sure that you're doing your best to treat all the children with kindness, respect, love. That goes with how you talk to them, how you treat them on a day-to-day basis. They deserve our respect just like we want their respect. So making sure we're really watching how we're speaking to them, speaking kindly, it will go a long way for your relationship with them, and therefore your summer. The better relationships you build with the kids, the better summer you're going to have. And I do think, I've seen it, you will have less behaviors to manage. So that is, I think, my biggest message of this training is, what can you do in your power as a counselor to prevent these negative behaviors from happening in the first place? That's where it starts. If you have questions, we'll have a little question and answer time here at the end. So thank you for joining us today, and hope you have a great